No, we never got any flack. I mean, we were never above ground enough to get any flack. So, I mean, I'm sure Ice-T didn't. You probably know who I am. You know what I mean? Like, which is ironic. A friend of mine from junior high actually lived across the street from Ice-T up on Sunset Plaza Drive. So I've been by his house a million times, but our paths never crossed in a sense where he would have ever even known who I was. But that was that. You know, me and D had that arrogance. Literally that track is what we would converse about hour upon hour upon, like, we'd be like, man, why is everybody in LA so whack? Like when we did play the Dream Team record at the start of our record, and that's, you know, that was the we don't like what's coming out of LA. There's talent here, and why is that what gets all the, you know, why does that get to be on K-Day? Why does that get to, you know, so the idea that, like, you know, a guy like Ice-T, you know, he was doing kind of the pimp thing, and, you know, just stuff that we didn't relate to. You know, I was never a pimp, and I never knew pimps. You know, I was middle class, and, you know, so I was like backpacker before there was backpacker. You know what I mean? Like, we're of that. Oh, I go to college, and I do. You know what I mean? We were just a different mindset, and I looked down on. I was like, they're just trying to get out of a drug game. They, you know what I mean? They just need an out. They're not in this for heart. They're in it because they like it, and girls like it, and they want to get out of selling drugs because they're scared of getting shot at anymore. You know, and that's kind of a naive thought, because they probably loved hip hop just as much as we did, but that was our mentality back in the day. Like, you ain't true to this. Like, you're making this garbage. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we did it. You know, I remember D, my partner, he was real good at conceptualizing. So he would say, you should do one verse about this, and one verse about that, and one verse about that. And then it would be my task to put that into something. And, you know, and that was just my heart. Like, Sunshine Man was me from A to Z. That was my anthem. That, if you want to know what I'm thinking, listen to that track. That today, I listen to that track, and I'm like, I stand by it. There's nothing I would retract on that record. You know what I mean? And it still goes on today. The whole thing about payola, you know, that was big when I was just studying at UCLA. You know, it talked about those scams of how, you know, the music industry kind of got taken over by the mafia, and how records got on the radio. And then I started learning about radio promotion because I worked at a record marketing firm. And, like, who decides what's getting played? And, you know, all that whole world, I had a problem with all of it. So that was our release. That was how I made that statement. You know what I mean? And that's probably why it was so well received, because it was really my heart. That was truly the most artistic. You know what I mean? And then, you know, obviously I was influenced by the BDPs and the Public Enemies, and so that's how Legal Alien was that side. You know, a more racially charged track, but yeah, Sunshine Man. That was my view of hip hop, and D's view of hip hop in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, we just rolled that way. We did that record. Well, we did those two tracks right after we did the along the same time that all this the fellowship is forming and we're recording during that month and so forth. I can't remember exactly when, but I took it upon myself. We used to, we didn't. Me and Daryl's distaste for the industry did not end at just the records. We hated, like, the magazines, like, you know, the teen beat type things. Like, it was like Hip Hop Magazine and, like, Fresh. If y'all remember Fresh, where they had, like, the poster, Heavy D and the Boys. Right, like all these cheesy, like, girl pinup magazines for hip hop. And we was like, I swear, if somebody doesn't make a record, a magazine that has, like, real reviews and, like, real music, and literally within months, The Source came out. Like, I remember The Source coming out as you know, when it was like a black and white paper, not even with the color on it and everything. And we was like, this is insane. We were just talking about this. Like, literally, we had the conversation before the magazine came out, and we were like, somebody is on it. And it had to be somebody from New York. We was like, they always on it. Like, why ain't we on it? Like, who? You know, we were just like, so, but we fell in love with The Source, right? And then it had, like, the little Unsigned Hype. You know, and we remember reading it, and we was like, oh, this is interesting, because there were artists in there that never came out, the Unsigned Hype, that we were like, the way they describe it, I want to hear that. Who is that dude? There's this one band, Puppets of Chaos. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, Puppets of Chaos, they describe, what do you say, I brought a Timberland boots to the bar mitzvah? We remember it like it was yesterday, dude. We're like, I want to sign the Puppets of Chaos. I don't care who is out there. If y'all listening, Puppets of Chaos, man, I will put some money behind you. Your concepts, I love y'all, right? I don't even know them. So, you know, we had this thing going, and yeah, I just took it upon myself. I didn't even tell D. I took our little demo and I sent it to the source. I get a call. Matty from the source calls. He's like, yo, man, you won the Unsigned Hype. And I was like, word? Like, cause I mean, that was like being knighted to me. You know, I was like, East Coast gratification from somebody I truly respect saying, you got the hottest tape that came in here. We got hundreds of tapes. Y'all tape is better than everybody's tape. Like literally, Matty was like, dude, I need you to send me a picture and, you know, write your little contact information, you know, send me a little stuff. And I was like, a picture? So me and my D, he worked at Mann's Theater Westwood at the time, Mann National, it was a big brown theater in Westwood, which is like near UCLA. I got off of work. I had one of those little, I don't even know if it was disposable. It was a little cheap, like 110 camera or something. We went, one of his dudes at the theater, he changed out of his theater costume, you know, the theater suit thing with the cheesy flashlight. He changed into like a little dress shirt. I had on like a little button-down shirt. We went into the basement of the theater. Homeboy, his partner, was still in the outfit. He took our picture in the basement of the movie theater. That's the picture. I went and developed it immediately. Took it to like Photomat or whatever, Sears, Kmart, whatever, and then sent that with a little, I wrote a bio, typed it up on my little brother typewriter at home. You know, it was just like Mickey Mouse, but we sent it in. I was like, dude, here's our stuff. They're gonna put us in the magazine. I believe it's the February '92 issue with EPMD on the cover. We're in the source. So that came out and it was like, dude, we've arrived, right? That just exploded. I'm like, okay, we're on the right track. All this hatred for West Coast, we're on the right track. People, they understand us, you know. We're somebody now, you know. And that opened up a gang of doors. That like DJ Paul, DJP, he ended up going on to be like, I believe he was like president of Def Jam West. He signed Regulate Warren G, you know, that kind of thing. He got, what's Everlast group? House of Pain. He got House of Pain signed with, you know, Tommy Boy, that kind of thing. So Paul Stewart, he was like, he was the, he wrote the columnist. He was a West Coast columnist for The Source. And he was like, who are these dudes that live in my backyard that I don't know about? You know what I mean? Because we weren't out there. So that got that relationship, and then he wanted to manage us. We got connected with this guy who managed Herbie Hancock at the time named Tony Mylant. He wanted to manage us. And we ended up signing, at one time we had both of them trying to manage us. And this was at like not wanting to shut the door on any opportunity. But you know, Tony Mylant was, he was a jazz man, you know what I mean? Like Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, like, you know what I mean? But he's the one who got us to Burning Royale. He's the reason we flew out to New York. You know, he was like, can you guys do this for me? He wants to have his hip hop on there. You guys are my new guys. I'm gonna fly you out. And we went to Greenpoint Studios. Bill Laswell, industry legend, produced the damn record. George Clinton shows up in the studio. The Jungle Brothers are there. I mean, we were just like in seventh heaven, losing our freaking mind. It's our first time out of LA in New York. And we sitting across the table eating, you know, chicken with the Jungle Brothers. And I mean, I was bugging out. I'm like, we like, man, you guys, man, you have no idea, the Jungle Brother, you know, we're jocking them like, you guys are like the holy, you guys are the fathers. You're our fathers. You know, if we could be native tongue, oh, you know what I mean? So that was like, you know, it just felt so right. You know, but that was just like it was a 2-day thing. We went in. We did a little track, 2 tracks. Matter of fact, I remember going in, they played it for us. We went home that night at the hotel. We had I forget what hotel we were in, but I wrote the rap that night, went back, and, you know, so there was not a lot of substance to the rap. You know, if you listen to it, it was kind of one of those, like, what you pretty much hear mostly in little, when they bring a rapper into a track that already exists. It's just like he says a few things. And it's like, oh, it's the vision, James. And then I'm like, okay, the vision, you know, or Flex, I believe was the other track. And it's like, all right, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a concept, but that was my first experience of ever like being a guest MC on something. You know what I mean? Like I'd never written a rap that fast. Like my process for writing raps, like it took me weeks to write Sunshine Man. I wrote it like an essay. I wrote, rewrote, like, wrote again, and like, I didn't get my concept quite right there. And then I look at the thesaurus, and like I was not like these off the head Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, all these guys who say like and then bust a song out. No, I took my time. That's why like everything I would say, had substance to it. I thought, you know what I mean? But so that Tony Mylant relationship, we ended up not going with Paul, and that's a regret I have, that we did not choose an up-and-comer who became something in the hip-hop world. We chose a guy who was established in the jazz world, but he didn't know nothing about our hip-hop world. And that was a career mistake. I mean, you know what I mean? And but again, in that arrogance, we was like, oh, look, he got more than I got. Like I felt I had what Paul had. But little did I know, Paul was a hustler. Like Paul was making moves for so many people, and I see now he's legendary. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he came to us with getting a deal with what's his name? He signed Wu-Tang. Steve Rifkin. He came to us when Tongue Twister signed his deal. He was like, we would have been artists too. We would have been like tandem artists with Twister. Twister's album was getting done. He was coming with, I think they were like $30,000 deals. He was like, dude, all you need to do is take, $10,000, buy some equipment, record it at home. You know how to record. And then, it's just it's almost like a demo deal. We're giving you low money, but then you'll recruit fast and 30 grand, you sell 10,000 records, you done. And then now you can make money. But we didn't see that. We kind of just kept seeing, I don't want to be an artist. I want to, it's like nobody's right for us. We want to be self-owned and So this Tony Mylant, we actually went with him. He booked time at Paramount Studios up on Santa Monica in Hollywood, and we recorded an album. So All in All has an album. Yes. All in All has an album. It's done, and it's got some heaters on it.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, we had songs like Hella-Vision. We had a song called To the Hoes, and it wasn't about women. We had a song, it was all this conceptual stuff that I put my mind into, and we put our beats into. We had a record, and I've listened to it. I have it on DAT tape. But Tony like flamed on us. It turned out he had a substance abuse problem. So he just kind of like evaporated into thin air. Like he was our manager, and then all of a sudden we couldn't get him to return a call. You know what I mean? And he got us we one time had a date with Herbie Hancock, and we're at his house and, getting wild. But, he'd been in Herbie Hancock's house, and he lives like up in like almost what's Beverly Hills, basically north of Sunset. He's got a Ferrari in the driveway, and he's got like state-of-the-art equipment in his house. He's got like a room of every sampler, from like the Fairlight all the way through every sampler that's ever been made, and he gets all that stuff for free. So it's literally collecting dust because it's not the new shit. He's using the new shit, and then the old shit back in the closet. So he loans us a Lin drum, which was not a sampler, but because he's Herbie Hancock, he had it modified, turned into a sampler. He loans us this thing, but then calls us like a week later. He's like, you guys need to bring back my drum machine. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's Herbie. He's cool. Herbie was cool, but he was totally like jazz musician. Like, bring my shit back. I can't be leaving my stuff with you kids. Like, I need to put it back in the room when nobody's touching it. And we was like, dude, we got Herbie Hancock's drum machine. Like, we was just bugging out. But so all that was just going to our head. Like, we just thought we had the whole world. As this is going on, as we're getting all this hype from the source, the Fellowship. We did a show in Santa Monica on Pico at this club, and I had the habit of, we'd go do a show, I'd bring the tapes with me. As soon as we get off the stage, I'd be like, tapes for sale. I was like out the trunk king. I was like, I could sell water to, a dolphin. I'm selling it, you know what I mean? And so Kim Bowie, who was head of West Coast A&R for Island Records, she's in the audience at this show. And she comes up to me and introduces herself, and I was like, she's like, can I get a tape? And I'm like, $5. And she buys one. You know what I mean? So I guess she was significantly impressed by what happened on the stage, because she didn't push like, I'm head of, she was just like, okay, $5. I sold it myself to her. I get a call because my phone number was on the tape. I get a call like a day later. The next day, it's like a Monday or 2 days later, and she's like, I'm interested in the Freestyle Fellowship. Can you guys want to have a meeting at the headquarters of West? Little did she know, I worked across the street at the marketing company. I called the guys up. I'm like, guys, Island Records is interested. Let's hear what she has to say. I take an extended lunch from work. I drive down, pick up all the guys just like we were doing before, Record to Record, drive us all back up to Sunset. We go in, they bring us in the boardroom with the long, it just, you know, they hit us with the, look at all this glamour, you know, look at Island Records. And I, in the back of my head, I kind of know a little about the industry, you know, because I'm working in the industry, I'm doing marketing. You know, I've worked Island Records doing marketing. And I'm like, Island is not that cool with artists. Like, I remember they had some dust up with U2. I remember Eric B. and Rakim was suing them. It was like all kind of stuff that was negative about Island Records. And so I was like, you know, I think Divine Styler might have been on Island. It was a whole lot of people that was having issue with Island. And I was just like, I don't know if this is, I don't care what they offer. I don't think, you know, in my head, I was like, we don't think we want to, you know, I would tell D that and stuff. We get in that office and Kim Bowie basically is like, I'm giving you guys a deal. She just basically offered us a deal right there, you know what I mean? And I remember she was barefoot, looking all bohemian, sitting in the, you know, with her feet propped up in the big boardroom. And the dude, you know, I imagine those guys were like, you know, just kind of hit their head because they just came from a living room smoking some weed, not having a job, to somebody saying, I'm offering you what probably amounts to millions of dollars that they have no concept of what it really means. And that was the first sort of splinter in the fellowship. You know, that's where me and D made the conscious decision, we're going to do this thing over here. We got the Source, we got Tony Mylant, we have another life outside of, and the fellowship is the Wu-Tang. It's not one group, it's a compilation. I think Kim thinks we're one group, but no, we're not one group. We are 5 different groups who got together like Voltron to make one project. You know what I mean? So does she want to make a compilation? And no, she wanted to make an artist. You know what I mean? So I don't think, it's like she didn't understand because we didn't really spell it out. We never said we're not one group. We just, if you listen to the record, each person has their individual song. So we thought it was clear, you know. But needless to say, you know, they chose to go that route. And so, and there was nothing real negative in that moment of decision. It was just that, oh, dudes, we got this thing. So, you know, you guys, you gonna do that? We're gonna do this. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, you know, and we didn't see each other as one group. You know, we still saw each other, you know, in those early stages as individual groups. And whatever anybody gets, we're going to hook up. If I get through the door, I'm bringing you behind me, dude. You know that. You know what I'm saying? If I go platinum, you're going to be the dude I bring up. You know what I mean? That was just kind of the understand. That's how groups did it, you know. That's how crews, posses do their thing. So that was just kind of like the love collective we had. And, you know, in the ensuing months, things unfold and, like, you know, the Tony Mylant evaporates. You know, we no longer have the Paul Stewart relationship as tight as it was when he wanted us. Now we were still cool. I would talk to him every now and then, but it was different. It was like, okay, you shunned me for that dude. And I imagine he was on with his life. He was already making moves anyway. You know what I mean? Steve Rifkin, I saw him explode. I was, you know, all this slowly things evolved into what they evolved into, you know. Tony Mylant, the same guy who put us in the studio, recorded a full album. The 2-inch tapes are still up there. He never paid for them. So all I have is like DAT mixes that we would take day to day as we were recording. You know, I just have mixdowns of this album, this full album of music that we made. And, you know, we would go in and, you know, we were sort of participatory in the process with the fellowship, but I wasn't on that Inner City Griots album. We made the conscious decision not to do anything because we were looking at contractual stuff outside. So we were kind of almost like where Ganja K was, and you know, we were like, we're now have to deal with our own endeavors. Anything we do with you is legal. So we're not going to be on this record, you know. And a lot of it was unsaid. It was just understood, like, okay, you guys have chosen that, you've signed on the dotted line. We have not signed. So, but I'd been in some of their sessions, and, you know, I understand they got a little nice amount of chump change in their pocket. So, you know, some of them went out and bought some things, automobiles and some other things, you know, and were making their lives better and whatnot. There were a lot of substances getting purchased, you know, and things like that, ATM runs a lot, and, you know, living off of it, just living a life. You know, they were doing their life, we were doing ours. You know, and I still have my career, my job, I still, you know. But that's where, yeah, it's like I saw the fellowship thing become, they got made into a group, you know. Peace got absorbed in, Jupiter became more prominent as an MC and started writing obviously more. and even Mike and AC, you know, they you know, solidified their thing.